At Marine headquarters, everything became chaotic after hearing Vegapunk's announcement. They couldn't believe that the entire world would be submerged under the ocean. The scene then shifted to a pirate town, where all of them disbelieved Vegapunk's words, thinking he was using his own death to cause chaos in the world. How could the whole world sink into the sea? However, many people still put their faith in Vegapunk, just like the residents of Water 7. There, the water level rises significantly every year, and soon the city will be submerged. What they couldn't believe was that not only this place, but the entire world would be submerged by seawater. The information had begun to spread everywhere, even in Impel Down, where Doflamingo burst into laughter upon hearing the news from Vegapunk. He asked Warden Magellan what he would do if the prison was flooded, as their responsibility was to keep the prisoners safe. Magellan admitted that the place had fallen into chaos when the sea level rose by a few meters, but to submerge the entire world in water was truly unbelievable. Doflamingo suggested that if the water rose by just 5 meters, most cities would suffer heavy damage, and he asked if they should move to higher ground, hinting at Mary Geoise. In the Ryugu Kingdom, they had also heard the information from Vegapunk. Princess Shirahoshi was extremely worried, asking her father if Vegapunk's words were true. The king was unsure, but said they would have to prepare for the upcoming disaster. Back on Egghead Island, Marine soldiers were furious at Vegapunk's baseless declaration. They believed the greatest scientist was lying, and that this would throw the world into chaos. Above, Marcus Mars was still flying around, searching for the source of the video broadcast. He asked the others to destroy all the transponder snails before Vegapunk revealed all the important secrets. The situation with Bonney and Nami was very tense. They had to face the powerful Gorosei. As for Luffy, he was still being chased by Warkuri. He transformed into Gear 5 to attack the enemy. Those who wanted to stop the information Vegapunk was broadcasting were trying to find the location of the original transponder snail. York had searched everywhere, but couldn't guess where Vegapunk had hidden it. The genius scientist continued to talk about the information he had found. According to his calculations, just a few days after recording this video, the world would experience an unusual earthquake, shaking the entire world. Upon hearing this, many people began to believe that the scientist's words were true, as an earthquake had indeed occurred just today. As a result, the sea level would rise by about 1 meter worldwide, and some islands would be submerged and become uninhabitable. Beaches worldwide would also disappear. Now, everything Vegapunk predicted had come true. This made the pirates who initially mocked him feel scared. Next, Vegapunk wanted everyone to listen carefully to what he was about to say. The earthquake that shook the entire world was not a natural phenomenon. At this moment, Saturn was extremely angry that Vegapunk was about to reveal important information. He continuously attacked the members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Nami then counterattacked with lightning, and the rest of the group also rushed in to drive the monster away. However, all wounds healed instantly, and Saturn attacked continuously without stopping. He used his giant spider legs to slam down, and the pressure from the blow blew away Nami's entire group. Seeing this, Robin tried to use her devil fruit power to create a net of arms to catch her teammates. At this moment, Vegapunk was talking about his desire for peace. After defeating Nami's group, Saturn did not kill them, but quickly ran in another direction. This confused Nami, who thought they were his target. Saturn then asked Marcus Mars if he had checked the power plant, to which he replied that he hadn't because the room was heavily guarded. Hearing this, Saturn decided to go there to find and destroy the device broadcasting Vegapunk's video. At this time, the scientist was talking about his first sin, which was creating an infinite energy source. He was driven by a desire to bring great progress to the world. Saturn then found the room containing the eternal flame that Vegapunk created, also known as the God of Fire. He transformed back into his human form and destroyed the nearby transponder snail. However, Vegapunk's voice did not stop. This was still just a fake transponder snail. Saturn ordered the others to destroy all living creatures in the laboratory, and Marcus Mars was doing the same, but it seemed ineffective. Outside, the marine warships were trying to fire cannons at the giant robot, but it did not stop and continued to move. Inside the island, Luffy felt dizzy after spinning continuously. Dorry asked him to stop playing and focus on running, while Brogy worried about the fire spreading across the island, saying that if they didn't escape soon, they would all burn to death. The genius scientist then spoke about the period from about 900 to 800 years ago, a blank period in history. At this point, those living in Marie-Jouise were extremely angry. They wondered what the Marines were doing to let this video spread, but some were also interested in the information about the century erased from history. The only way to know what happened during that period was through the stone tablets called poneglyphs, which were scattered all over the world, but very few people understood the ancient language. Not to mention, deciphering poneglyphs was strictly forbidden by the government. Although he was a scientist working for the government, Vegapunk tried to decipher it, and this was his second sin. Robin and everyone else were still safe. Lilith thought that Saturn left because he was agitated by Vegapunk's speech. The doctor had deciphered many poneglyphs with excellent scientists, thus learning about the erased part of history. After crashing into the shield, Edison was still alive, trying to help the Straw Hat pirates escape safely. Outside, after seeing Warcury almost catch up with the two giants, Luffy decided to attack the monster one more time. Vegapunk was talking about a man born 900 years ago in a highly developed kingdom. It was said that he had a rubbery body like the Sun God Nika in the story of the giant tribe in Elbaf. That man's name was Joy Boy. And now, the one with that power was Luffy, who delivered a powerful punch to the giant monster's face. However, his arm was also burned by the flame. Seeing this, Brogy and Dorry laughed loudly, thinking that Luffy never learned his lesson, as he had been burned before when hitting the other monster's body. According to Vegapunk, Joy Boy was considered the first pirate on the high seas. The scene shifted to the peaceful land of Wano, where little Otama and others were listening to news from Vegapunk. Thanks to Orochi's transponder snail, they would know what was happening out there. They knew nothing about Joy Boy, but Otama wanted to see Luffy again. Vegapunk continued to talk about the information he read on the poneglyphs. It was about a great battle between Joy Boy and the world government of today. More precisely, it was the predecessor of the world government, consisting of 20 kingdoms forming an alliance. This means that Joy Boy's pirate faction was so strong that nations had to cooperate to fight against that man. Vegapunk could not find out the cause of the battle. All he knew was that Joy Boy was born in an extremely advanced civilization 900 years ago. The weapons used in the previous battle far exceeded the capabilities of current science, and were considered ancient weapons. At this time, Nami was trying to call Zoro and Jinbei back. They noticed that the clouds around them were moving. This was what Edison was talking about when he promised to help them land safely in the water. If the clouds continued to expand until they were parallel to the water, they could slide down and leave this island. Inside the control room, Edison was praying for the members of the Straw Hat Pirates to escape safely and not to be caught by the world government. At the control room, Stussy was still trying to find a way to assist the Straw Hat Pirates. Edison then contacted her, asking her to quickly turn off the energy shield and run. She refused, believing that if she did, the Straw Hat members would be attacked by the Marines. Edison said that their shield was actually useless now. The leaders of the world government had infiltrated, and the Gorosei were the ones they needed to fear, not the Marines. Marcus Mars was currently using his special ability to disable all communication devices on the island. Edison said he had done his best to ensure the Straw Hat Pirates could escape, and the rest was up to them. Hearing this, Stussy breathed a sigh of relief. She was afraid that if Luffy and his crew couldn't escape, Vegapunk would be angry with her. Edison wanted her to leave quickly to save her life, but Stussy said she couldn't. Now that Stella was gone, She didn't know who to live for. At the same time, Jinbei and Zoro received a new message from Nami, and the fishman apologized for the delay. Nami then threatened to kick Zoro because he didn't realize his mistake in wasting everyone's time. Out at sea, the marine warships had begun to approach the giant pirate cruise ship. Nami didn't want to be attacked as soon as they landed in the water, so she asked Jinbei to go faster. Vegapunk had now been taken to another location by Atlas, and despite her sadness, she still had to return to help Bonney escape the island. The battle between the giants and Nusjuro was still very intense. He could cut through anything. While the two giants attracted the enemy's attention, Sanji rushed in to attack. However, his kick was blocked by Nusjuro's sword. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't kick away the enemy's weapon. Instead, he was sent flying by him. Oimo and Kashi then grabbed the giant horse's tail, which annoyed Nusjuro. Bonney also rushed in to attack with Oimo, but even though he was attacked from two directions, the opponent still blocked. The Gorosei's power was still far superior to theirs, and Kashi was also kicked away by the horse. At that moment, Bonney was in danger. Nusjuro jumped high, intending to slash her. Fortunately, Bonney's body had shrunk back to her child form, allowing her to dodge the slash. Frankie also jumped up to catch her, advising her not to overexert herself. Oimo and Kashi continued to fight. However, Nusjuro ignored them and ran off to another place. It seemed that the Gorosei's current priority was to stop Vegapunk's video to conceal the world's secret. Nusjuro was angry that the genius scientist kept talking about Joy Boy's failure. Although that event had ended, it left immeasurable, irreparable remnants of war. Hearing this, Nusjuro used his ability to cut the island above where the Straw Hat Pirates were preparing to leave in half. His special weapon was incredibly sharp. That slash caused half of the Sky Island to fall, thereby freeing the world government agents. At this point, Vegapunk continued to talk about the world's secret. The lands they lived on were actually all islands. Hearing this, many people found it uninteresting because Vegapunk's words were too obvious. His next sentence astonished many. Because the world of 1,000 years ago was not at all like the present, the disaster at that time caused the entire land to sink into the sea. Now they were only living on the remaining fragments of the ancient continents. The Revolutionary Army was extremely shocked to hear this news, that the world had once sunk into the sea. Now the world of 1,000 years ago had been destroyed and lay deep beneath the ocean. It was believed that there were once many continents, but now no traces were recorded in books. This was indeed shocking news, but not for Nojiko, Nami's sister. She chose to go take care of the Tangerine Garden, asking everyone to tell her about it later. Vegapunk continued to emphasize that within 100 years, the sea level had risen by 200 meters. Upon hearing this, many Marines showed fear at the declaration. Even the giant warships were only 60 meters long. The superior then came out, ordering the soldiers to work and not to believe Vegapunk's words. In Chopper's home kingdom of Sakura, after hearing that the continent had sunk and history was being hidden, many people questioned whether it was true. But if these words came from Vegapunk, then it must be true. This world still holds many interesting things that they have yet to discover. The reason for the 200-meter sea level rise was also revealed by the scientist. Everyone might think it was caused by a natural disaster, but he concluded that the reason for the rising sea level was caused by humans. This was unacceptable to the journalist Morgan, who protested Vegapunk's words but was stopped by Vivi to listen further. Vegapunk's assertion that the sea level rise was caused by humans was well-founded. He had used every means to investigate, from meteorology, geology, environmental science, to atmospheric science. Vegapunk affirmed that the cause did not come from nature, and finally, the answer was revealed. The scientist discovered the key factor and the existence of something called an ancient weapon. Something that had submerged the world 800 years ago still existed somewhere and was waiting to be activated once again. In other words, the Great War that erupted in the erased history had not yet ended, and only those with the highest power in the world knew this clearly. Somewhere, a mysterious person was looking at a painting of a girl with a face similar to Vivi's, and at the same time, in Vivi's kingdom, the people were mourning the death of their king. Vegapunk continued to talk about his desire to create an eternal energy source for the future, and although not yet complete, the Mother Flame was the final achievement of his research. It was an energy source that would surely make human life everywhere in the world better. But a terrible thing happened when a small piece of that eternal flame was stolen. This was his fault. The situation on the island had now become uncontrollable. Stussy asked Edison what had happened. He said he didn't know anymore. The laboratory, along with the Cypher Paul agents, had all fallen to the ground. He tiredly sat down to rest, stating that the Straw Hat Pirates were still safe. But another madman in the Gorosei was heading towards them. Edison continued to beg Stussy to run, and she asked if she could release Kaku. She promised not to let him touch the Straw Hat Pirates. Hearing this, Edison agreed, and also had to apologize to her for letting Stussy betray her friends. However, she still chose to help them. So, now do whatever you want, but promise to keep living. Hearing this, Stussy shed tears and promised to try to keep living. Vegapunk's story continued. 2 weeks after the Eternal Flame was stolen, the Lulusia kingdom was completely wiped out. Realizing that his research was what had powered the ancient weapon and destroyed a nation, he felt very guilty. Vegapunk didn't know who had activated the ancient weapon to do that, but what he was sure of was that he had indirectly caused the deaths of countless people in Lulusia, and the disaster that could submerge this world might happen again. In Wano at this time, after hearing about the ancient weapon, Momonosuke spoke of Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons that Vegapunk mentioned. Joy Boy had tried to pass these weapons down to future generations, but why would that person want this world to sink into the sea again? There are still many things they don't know about the erased history, but there are still people who know about this event. These are the members of the Pirate King's crew, and this shocking news caused chaos at Marine headquarters. Back to Yor, she was wondering why Vegapunk knew she was the one who stole the Mother Flame. Realizing something, Yor finally guessed the location where Vegapunk hid the live broadcast device. She immediately reported this to the Gorosei. The broadcast device was actually hidden inside the Iron Giant. The Marines were trying to shoot down the giant robot but couldn't. Its body was too big and strong. Normal cannonballs couldn't penetrate it. The scene shifts to Rayleigh after hearing what Vegapunk was saying. He drank so much alcohol that he got drunk, which surprised Shaki. It was rare for him to drink so much. Perhaps Rayleigh was remembering the Pirate King Roger.